Welcome back to Sunday Supplement with Charlie, Dan and James. This week, let's get to Simon Mullock's story and the back of the Mirror. This morning, Saudi Salah swoop. Mo Salah is offered the opportunity, or will be offered the opportunity, to become the new face of the Saudi Pro League and treble his £400,000 a week wages, which my maths isn't great, but that means he'd be quite wealthy by the end of it, I would suspect, if he's not already. How likely, Dan, do you think this will be in the near future?
Yeah, I think it feels fairly likely, doesn't it? When we were just saying off air, this story's been around for at least 2 years. I mean, I think there was speculation he could go the summer Klopp left Liverpool 2 summers ago. Last summer as well, he ended up signing a new contract, staying for a further year, but that was obviously a big decision for Liverpool. And I now feel like this is a move that's just going to suit everyone. You know, Liverpool probably want his wages off the books. There's the disagreement with Slot from earlier this season. I think it would suit them to move him on and kind of start afresh, as brilliant as he's been for them. I think it would suit the Saudis. You know, they have now a potential image problem with their biggest star, their biggest selling point, Cristiano Ronaldo, which we may come on to. He may want to go and get his 1,000th goal somewhere else, perhaps back in Europe. So they'd want another big name to kind of front that league, and Salah's absolutely perfect for it. And I think it would probably suit Salah. You know, I think he is slowing down. The evidence of this season suggests that. There's been a lot of change at Liverpool, which I don't think has helped him. The loss of Alexander-Arnold being the main one, but it doesn't look like, and the numbers suggest, he's not quite the same player who set those ridiculously high standards of the last few years. So, yeah, I can certainly see this transfer happen, and I think it makes sense on a number of levels.
I think top of the next hour, James, we'll talk about Ugo Ekitike in particular ahead of Liverpool, Man City. But there's an argument about him and Isak in the same team. But certainly there's not room for all three and Florian Wirtz. And given how much the other three cost and how well Ekitike is playing, it would make him almost the sensible fall guy of the quartet.
Let's not forget he pulled the rug out from under his manager just before the AFCON tournament. So I think we all thought there was a fair chance he might go in January because of that. Clearly, it's difficult to do deals in January, full stop. It's very difficult to do deals of that magnitude in January. And they probably have, I have no idea about this, but I suspect they've all sort of said, right, let's just park this till the summer. You're probably going to go. This is clearly the move that everybody has trailed for a long period of time, as Dan said. It would suit everybody. He is a legend of that club. He deserves to have his proper goodbye, as it was sort of mooted. Was it Brighton, the final game they played before he went away? I mean, he deserves to have a proper send off, and I think they've just decided, look, this is coming for everybody. It's the right time, and as you say, there have been signs while he was away, in particular, of Wirtz and Ekitike starting to develop this understanding, and with Isak around as well, you don't spend that kind of money if you're not going to push the team forward to a new era and a new generation, and that will be eventually without Mo Salah, as much as that might be unpalatable to some Liverpool fans. It's the passage of time. It's the natural order of things, I'm afraid.
We will talk more about Liverpool against Manchester City at the top of the next hour. England. Welcome back to Sunday Supplement. It is 5 without a win for Newcastle and 3 straight defeats after yesterday's 3-2 loss at home to Brentford. Dango Ouattara, the star of the show, once again, as he was last weekend against Aston Villa as well, to leave Newcastle 12th in the Premier League table at the moment. We will speak to our North East reporter Keith Downey very shortly. From your perspective, Charlie, what's going wrong there?
Well, bad recruitment in the summer when they really needed to push on, and I thought some of the signings were potentially good, and most of them not worked, have they? And combined with injuries and obviously a lot more games, particularly in the Champions League, and yesterday. I think all of us off air were talking about Eddie Howe's press conference, and it was a very different Eddie Howe to the one that we're used to. Normally he's positive and he's always just backing the players, and he's talking about himself, and he knows the situation's really serious there, because compare it to a year ago where they'd won the Carabao Cup, brilliant story last season. And this year, they are struggling, and it's quite negative around the club, and ultimately, Eddie Howe's recruitment has been outstanding, really. Considering what he when he joined the club and what he had there, and obviously they were fighting relegation. But yeah, I think most of those signings have been 5 out of 10s, haven't they, in the summer?
Well, Charlie touched on that press conference from Eddie Howe yesterday evening. Our reporter Keith Downey was one of those in that presser. Morning to you, Keith. You speak to him once, twice, 3 times a week sometimes, Eddie Howe. How would you assess his mood and demeanour last night?
Yeah, look, it felt like a big moment, I think, his press conference post-match last night. He picked his words very carefully. I think a lot of what Eddie was doing yesterday was taking the pressure off his players and blaming himself. And he basically said, I need to go away, look at myself, try and do my job better. He said, look, I can't work any harder, and no one can question that. This is a guy that commits his life, his heart and his soul to the football club, and has done that since he arrived back in November 2021. No one can question that, but he obviously is questioning how he can do his job better, whether he means tactics, team selection, training. The problem for Newcastle right now, Rob, is Newcastle can't really train. The schedule, as Charlie touched on there, is absolutely brutal at the moment. They're in the middle of 6 games in 17 days. They've not had a free midweek since the international break in November. Now, I know a lot of people will be screaming at their TVs saying, well, that's the same for Man City, that's the same for Liverpool, that's the same for Arsenal. I feel their squads are better equipped to deal with that. Newcastle had an opportunity last summer to improve the squad in terms of recruitment. They signed 5 players. I think it's fair to say only one of those 5 have worked out so far. 4 of them, at best, the jury is still out on. And when you're spending £250 million and you've got all these games, you're playing a game every 3 days, you need the majority of those players to work. And yes, Eddie's recruitment has been incredible up until now. Guys like Tino Livramento, Lewis Hall, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Dan Burn have all come in. The huge characters on Tyneside. They've all improved as players. They're the heartbeat of the team, but sadly 4 of those players who arrived in the summer haven't worked yet. And look, there still is time for that to work, but they're running out of time. And I think that was kind of what Eddie was alluding to in his press conference yesterday. But it did feel a little bit emotional. It feels like they're in a really, really difficult moment right now. 1 win in 9, 4 away games to come. You're looking at the fixture list and wondering right now where the next win's going to come from.
Keith, I mean, Tottenham will sort them out on Tuesday, surely. But before the end of the month, you touched on it there. They've got Spurs and City away in the league. They've got the punishment round in the Champions League against Qarabağ and the FA Cup 4th round at Villa. If they lose all of them, the season's kind of effectively over before the start of March. But do you get a sense of where the focus is? Is there a priority at all?
I think that might be one of the problems, to be honest. Eddie was asked yesterday post-match